Good evening and welcome back to Sports Talk ATL. I am Chase Earl, joined by Alex Lord. What is going to go down in history as the Wiley Ballard game. The Braves on-field reporter put on a hell of a showcase, just like the Atlanta Braves did on the field, getting the digits in the crowd, which led to an explosion from the Braves offense, which is ironic because if you looked at the lineup before this game, without Marcell Ozuna, who's hopefully not going to be out for more, he's not going to be in this series for the Blue Jays. Hip injury, went MRI. I guess it came back clean day to day. That's good news, but he is going to miss the next few games. Hopefully he'll be back when the Braves return to Truist Park. You looked at this lineup without Marcell Ozuna, and I'm like, bud, this is worse than what we were starting in spring training. I mean, the bottom five in that lineup probably shouldn't even be on major league rosters, let alone starting for the Atlanta Braves, who we thought had World Series aspiration. But of course, you look at that, you laugh at it, you talk about how ugly it is, and they have eight runs. And a lot of that was because of the top guys. Austin Riley is getting hot, had two monster dingers yesterday. Sean Murphy, his fourth homer of the season in 6 games. That brought in 6 of the 8 runs, and they didn't really do much in the second half, but they didn't need to. Grant Holmes was great. Braves get a win. Schwellenbach on the mound tonight. Spencer Strider tomorrow. Then you come back home for 6 games against the Twins and Cardinals, 2 very, very beatable teams. Sound the alarms, Alex? Are we back?
We'll see tonight, and this will be airing as the game's going on because we could look really silly, but it just feels a little different. Sean Murphy's hitting. He had another home run last night. Austin Riley, more importantly, he is heating up. Last 9 games, an OPS nearly 1,200. Matt Olson, if he can just lift a couple of balls, he's going to explode for a similar little run as Austin Riley and Sean Murphy. Even Ozzie Albies is not swinging at pitches in the dirt. And everything. Amazing
what happens when you don't do that. It's amazing that you start hitting the ball when you just swing at pitches in the strike zone.
Everything is copacetic right now in Atlanta. I think, the 3 biggest talking points of this one, obviously Austin Riley, getting him going. And I went and looked at it. And we always say, you mainly, but we say a lot that, when the summer months heat up, so does Austin Riley. And if you go and look at his June and July splits, I mean, they actually are nutty. I mean, they're like he has like a 1,400 OPS across some stretch of weeks in every single summer season. And he does start slow. And I thought like maybe it was a little overblown. No. He actually does start slow. This is about the best stretch of his career in terms of the early season. And it's a tiny sample size. It's 9 games. I don't want to, sound the alarms or anything, but this is a little unusual for Austin Riley. Go look at the stats. It is crazy for him to have a 1,200 OPS across 9, 10, 12 games this early in the season. So him getting going immediately and kind of having that, 800, 850 to 900 OPS across a whole season is going to land him in the top 5 of the MVP. Obviously, we just talked about Sean Murphy. Hopefully, he can keep that going. Like I said, Matt Olson. But this is about Grant Holmes.
Yeah, I mean, Grant Holmes was unbelievable. It sucks that Aaron Bummer came in and gave up that 2-run double because it should have led 8 innings or 7 2/3 innings of 1-run ball where he only gave up 2 hits. It took a no-hitter. So this 3 runs that he gave up looks a lot worse than it actually was. He was totally dominant. He was pitching with the lead. It was effortless. He finally went deep in the game, which I know he was a little upset about, but he pitched pretty well against the Phillies. They just had some good at-bats and some long at-bats, and he didn't give up a run in that game. So if you look at his last 12 innings, essentially, he's given up 1 run of his own, and then 3 are attributed to him, which is damn good pitching. I know a lot of people have talked about Grant Holmes as a potential reliever. When you look at that bullpen, you could certainly use a guy like Grant Holmes out there. But I think with this injury to Ronaldo Lopez and the way A.J. Smith-Shawver just hasn't quite looked like he's quite ready, especially with the way he's locating his fastball, I think Grant Holmes is going to be your 5th guy for this season because he's more valuable there. The Braves need him there. We don't know if Ronaldo Lopez is ever going to come back. Maybe later in the season we're talking about bullpen. But so far, I mean, outside of that first outing, which was against the Dodgers on the road, not necessarily an easy task, he's been a damn good pitcher. I was very high on him, and these last 2 starts have shown why.
He's absolutely delivered. And I don't know if it's a slider or a sweeper technically, but one of his off-speed pitches is nasty. And Phillies batters said something about a Trey Turner. Phillies manager said something about it, and they were talking about it last night on the broadcast. How anybody who faces Grant Holmes and talks about that off-speed pitch is just a deadly one. And over the course, and we're going to start seeing it more and more about it'll be one of the best pitches in baseball here in few months, whenever that time comes when they start putting out all that data. And I don't really think anyone should be surprised. And I don't think anybody should be questioning either if this is kind of sustainable where, yeah, sure, Ronaldo Lopez going from the bullpen to the rotation, maybe a little queasy about it. We obviously have concerns about the shoulder, but Grant Holmes was a first-round pick. I mean, Grant Holmes was talented going into the draft. Like, he went from the rotation to the bullpen and then back to the rotation. So, I did see some people, let's pump the brakes. Like, and maybe the Blue Jays aren't the most formidable opponent offensively, but I think anybody who's questioning whether this is sustainable, now 7 2/3 with that kind of, maybe that's not sustainable, but quality outings every single time from Grant Holmes, I don't think is crazy at all. I think you saw it last year at the end of the year in terms of, the nails and being able to just go out there in high pressure situations and delivering. And now we're seeing it kind of come to fruition where that was the longest outing of his Braves career. That maybe this guy, and I don't want to, put him in the same conversation as Lopez, because this guy has been a starter and he didn't really have a ton of success doing it, but this isn't a guy who we're trotting out there and I think should be overly concerned about his, fatigue issues. I think this guy's here to stay. I mean, this guy, he's got the stuff. He showed last year, at least. He's got the poise. I mean, I don't know what more you want.
Yeah. I mean, listen, frankly, I love Grant Holmes, and I think I was higher on Grant Holmes than anyone coming into the season, saying that he could have a sub-3 ERA. And I think a lot of people were like, huh, yeah, all right. Well, I genuinely believe that. And I believed, I even gave a bold prediction on this show where I said by the end of the season, we're going to be talking about him as the best fifth starter in baseball and a guy that you can trust in a postseason game. So I was very high on him. I don't care. I hate saying I don't care, but I'm not really worried about Grant Holmes' fatigue issues. We're going to push that guy into the ground.
We give him 30.
Yeah, and he's not Spencer Schwellenbach. He's not Spencer Strider. He's not, and we need him right now. Yeah. But we're going to use him. We're going to use him in the role that he's needed. And I agree with you. I think there's less concerns because he has been a starter for those 10 years that he was in a minor leagues. He has been pitching a decent amount of innings. It's not like, oh, Ronaldo Lopez 5 years off as a bullpen piece is now throwing 50 to 200 innings. That's a big jump for a guy like that when you haven't done it in 5 years. So it's a little bit different, but I don't think that's a huge concern for the Braves. I think the biggest concern is figuring out who's gonna be that final spot in the rotation. And right now, I don't know how you could have anywhere, anyone even close to where Grant Holmes is. And when AJ Smith-Shawver, you're trying to figure out a role for him, or Grant Holmes later in the season, it'll all work itself out. But for right now, I mean, Grant Holmes has pitched against 3 good teams. Blue Jays lineup wasn't great last night, but the Phillies is a damn good lineup, and the Dodgers on the road is a damn good lineup, and he's more than held his own.
Yeah, I think the rotation is kind of working itself out, and even if Strider comes back and stumbles a little bit out of the gate, I don't know how anybody could be concerned about that guy. And while I do have a little bit of concern about Chris Sale, it's certainly not those concerns were eased after his last outing. Not a great outing, but we talked about it. The 97, 98, touching 97 with his fastball is really the only thing you wanted to see, because and while they were cold outings, even in Atlanta, that outing before, it was a cold outing in Atlanta. It was unusual for that time of the year. But I think when you got Schwellenbach, who I don't think anybody should be surprised now. We've seen enough. I think everybody's talked about it ad nauseum. I couldn't say enough good things. And then you got Strider, who's going to work it out, even if he stumbles, though nobody should be surprised if he hits the ground running. Sale's going to figure it out, I do believe. And then you got Holmes. I mean, that's a great first 4. I mean, you never really need a 5th starter in the playoffs. And those 4 guys, you feel more than comfortable towing the rubber in a postseason game. So really the only concern, and the lineup is showing you that it still has that star power, and Ronald Acuna's on the mend. And then, all we got to do is worry about the bullpen, when just a couple days ago it felt like the sky was falling.
Yeah, and it starts today with Spencer Schwellenbach and then Spencer Strider. I mean, you got two guys, two of your best pitchers, and obviously the Strider.
I mean, I don't want to say you got to sweep because sweeping.
You got to take two out of three. You got to take two out of three. You got to have some momentum going to Truist Park in these winnable series, and I think you have a great opportunity to do that, even with this lineup looking the way it is, without Marcell Ozuna, without Ronald Acuna. So hopefully Schwellenbach does what he's done. Spencer Strider comes back big, and we have some good news coming back to Truist Park.